Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf. Now everybody knows that prostitute pandering Charlie Sheen is a boob man, but not for the reason you think. He's really into boobs because he hasn't yet given up breastfeeding. It's time to grow up, Charlie. Time to stop suckling on liquor bottles, baby bottles, and prostitute boobs, who are really wet nurses in disguise. Let's face it. You're not just nursing a permanent hangover, you're just plain nursing. Why are you championed as such a hero? Now let's do a little case history. You're a notorious womanizer who spent a reported $1 million on prostitutes in 1 year alone. Yeah, you heard me right. And you were named as one of the many clients who visited brothels owned by Heidi Fleiss in her court case in 1995. And how about the time you were caught with a prostitute in your hotel room? During the early morning of October 26, 2010, the police removed you from your hotel suite at the Plaza Hotel after you reportedly caused $7,000 in damage. And according to the NYPD, you admitted to having been drinking and taking cocaine. And the woman with you had locked herself in the bathroom in fear. And you were taken to a hospital for observation and released. Now, your official statement was that you hadn't hired her for sexual service. So what did you hire this prostitute for? Room service? Or was it physical therapy to cure what? Joint stiffness? Come on. You're a coke addict and a drunkard who throws temper tantrums and trashes hotel rooms. As far back as May of '98, you accidentally OD'd on injected coke. You were hospitalized but soon discharged. Your father had you arrested for violating your parole. You're also a repeated abuser of women. The news is full of reports of your shoving women around, including your wives, hitting them, holding them at knife point, and even threatening to kill them. You were also arrested on charges of domestic violence, including second-degree assault and menacing against your wife. And on December 25th, 2009, you haven't been seen together in public with your wife since the altercation. And then you were released from jail after posting an $8,500 bond. And in a court appearance on February 8, 2010, you were formally charged with felony menacing and third-degree assault and criminal mischief, both misdemeanors. And then on August 2, 2010, you pled guilty to misdemeanor assault as part of a plea bargain where the other charges against you were dismissed. Associated Press reporter Solomon Banda said you were sentenced to 30 days in a rehabilitation center, 30 days of probation, and 36 hours of anger management. You slap women around and then you just get off again, and I mean that in more ways than one. Each time you get arrested, you just get off, again and again. In February 2010, you announced that you would take a break from 2.5 Men to voluntarily enter a rehab facility. CBS expressed public support, and the decision to check yourself into that facility for treatment followed your wife's treatment in a different rehab facility. Your rehabilitation was considered preventive. Talk about double talk. Who are we kidding? Who takes somebody into a rehab to prevent an addiction? You go to a rehab to cure an existing addiction. In March, your press representative announced that you were preparing to leave rehab and return to work on the popular sitcom. And then on May 18, 2010, you signed an agreement to return to the sitcom for another 2 years for a reported $1.8 million per episode. That's right. And then in January 2010, you had another stay in rehab, and now in February 2011, you're in rehab once again. Meanwhile, you remain the highest paid actor on TV, still earning, according to Wikipedia, the $1.8 million per episode. What is wrong with this picture, Charlie? Now it's time to lay you on the couch, no pun intended, and give you some free analysis. The first time the public became aware of trouble with you was a few weeks before your high school graduation, when you were expelled from high school for poor grades and bad attendance. Now, you seem to be suffering from a case of sociopathy, and I'm going to describe the traits of a sociopath so women can be aware of avoiding a painful relationship with a sociopath who might be in their sphere. Now, Charlie, you're a classic case. You're charming and you're magnetic on the outside, but your emotions seem shallow and you show a lack of empathy and indifference toward the feelings of others. Others are just objects to be used to achieve your own ends. Example, engaging in an unending series of casual, impersonal, and trivial sexual relationships. You exhibit patterns of lying, deceitful, and manipulative behavior. Lack of remorse or guilt and denial of wrongdoing are classic symptoms of sociopathy. Sound familiar, Charlie? Repeated lying about serious matters is a clue that sociopathy exists. And the prostitute was in my room to pray with me, but I didn't hire her for sexual services. I'm not an addict. I'm entering rehab as a prevention. Lying. Now, most sociopaths harbor ill will toward family members. I'd say smacking around wives and girlfriends would qualify as ill will. Sociopaths are also egocentric and grandiose, glib and superficial, and they also see themselves as the center of the universe, as superior beings who are justified in living according to their own rules. Also sounds familiar, Charlie. Sociopaths feel that their abilities will enable them to become anything they want to be. Given the right circumstances, opportunity, luck, willing victims, their grandiosity can pay off spectacularly. For example, the psychopathic entrepreneur thinks big, but it's usually with somebody else's money. Sociopaths are impulsive, have poor behavior controls, great need for excitement, lack of responsibility, early behavior problems. These all are the clues to adult antisocial behavior. Get it, Charlie? You fit the profile to a T. Now, it's important for women to recognize these symptoms so they can steer clear of sociopaths in their own lives. And these are people who will use you sexually and drop you or bleed you in a financial scam. Charlie, are you a sociopath? Is your drug and alcohol abuse a symptom of sociopathy and your need for crazy excitement? Or are you behaving like a sociopath because your personality is being twisted by the booze and blow? The only way we're going to know the answer is for you to get clean once and for all. And until you do, we can't see the forest from the trees. You're in rehab now, but what's going to be different this time? You've gone through the motions before and nothing's changed. The rehab stays have been a joke. Perhaps just a way of avoiding legal trouble or lessening your sentences? It's hard enough to change when you want to. Let's face it, humans seek pleasure and avoid pain, and we only change when it hurts us to stay the way we are. Change only comes out of serious pain. Now, society at large, including your representatives and the legal system, treats you like one big overindulgent parent who never sets limits. There are never any serious consequences for your misbehavior. In other words, you're not hurting enough to feel motivated to change. You really need to hit rock bottom. People have to stop sweeping up behind you and getting you off. And I mean that seriously. You're never going to grow up until you give up the bottles and the boobs and the blow. You're not going to give all this up until the world at large puts a serious hurt on you by setting limits that stick. I mean, mandate you to a long-term stay in a rehab clinic, followed by mandated long-term treatment. I mean, not reducing your sentences and instead making you do jail time. I mean, drying up the gravy train, losing your TV gig. When you crash, you'll be motivated to get clean. When you're clean for a while, we'll finally see the real you. And I hope and pray for your sake that you aren't a sociopath, because that psychiatric disorder is as permanent as a tattoo. There's no such thing as Sociopaths Anonymous. Let's just hope that all you need is Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. Now get clean and get yourself together. Talk to you soon.